The ACE strategy for answering questions in written format. The ACE strategy is a way to remember to do 3 important steps when answering a question. 1. A equals answer the question. Step 2, C, stands for confirm with evidence or citation for proof. Citation is using examples from the text or from real life. The third step in ACE is for E, explain your proof. So you need to explain how your evidence explains your answer. Step 1, A, answer the question. To answer correctly, number 1, make sure you understand what the question is asking. Pay attention to the verbs, action words in the question. Things like describe, explain, prove, support. Also, number 2, use the words from the question in your answers. This is important because it makes your answer more clear and easy to understand. Let's try a sample of just step 1. The question is, why does Ponyboy like to go to movies alone? To answer the question, we want to use as many words from the question as we can in the answer. So you usually have to take out the question word, for instance, who, when, where, how, words like that. Take that out and see how many of the other words you can use. I know for sure I can use this phrase. Ponyboy likes to go to movies alone. So here's my answer. Ponyboy likes to go to movies alone, and now I give my answer. Because he is more comfortable than he is when one of the guys is with him. Now you practice. Sample question number 1. Who are the Socias? The answer is, in parentheses, the rich kids from the west side of town. Put that into one sentence using as many words from the question as you can when you write your answer. Number 2. Why does Johnny like it better when his father is hitting him than when he ignores him? The answer in parentheses, because then at least his dad is paying attention to him. So with that one also, give an answer and include as many words from the question as you can in your answer. Hopefully, your answer sounds similar to this. Who are the Socias? The Socias are the rich kids from the west side. Number 2. Why does Johnny like it better when his father is hitting him than when he ignores him? So we can keep these words. Johnny likes it better when his father is hitting him than when he ignores him. Take out the question words. Add because. Johnny likes it better when his father is hitting him than when he ignores him, because then at least his dad is paying attention to him. This sentence makes a much better answer than only including the answer and not part of the question. The person grading your paper may not be clear on what the question was, so if you include those words, it makes it much more clear, which is the point of writing. It's communicating your ideas. Now I want you to practice on your own. Step 1 only still. Number 1, what is one way that Cherry says that Socias are different than greasers? To answer this question, if you don't know the answer immediately from the top of your head, you would have to skim through the text to find that portion. I've included it for you right here. As you're reading, underline any words that answer how or why socias are different than greasers. You want to use as many words from the question that you can in your answer. The most effective way of answering this question correctly is to go back to the text and review it, looking for answers. So we want to look for one way that Cherry says that socias are different than greasers. So as we're reading on your copy, underline any details that answer how socias are different than greasers or why socias are different than greasers from Cherry's point of view. After the movie was over, it suddenly came to us that Cherry and Marcia didn't have a way to get home. Two-Bit gallantly offered to walk them home. The west side of town was only about 20 miles away, but they wanted to call their parents and have them come and get them. Two-Bit finally talked them into letting us drive them home in his car. I think they were still half scared of us. They were getting over it, though, as we walked to Two-Bit's house to pick up the car. It seemed funny to me that socias, if these girls were any example, were just like us. They liked the Beatles and thought Elvis Presley was out, and we thought the Beatles were rank and that Elvis was tough. But that seemed the only difference to me. Of course, greasy girls would have acted a lot tougher, but there was a basic sameness. I thought maybe it was money that separated us. No, Cherry said slowly when I said this. It's not just money. Part of it is, but not all. You greasers have a different set of values. You're more emotional. We're sophisticated, cool, to the point of not feeling anything. Nothing is real with us. You know, sometimes I'll catch myself talking to a girlfriend and realize I don't mean half of what I'm saying. I don't really think a beer blast on the river bottom is super cool, but I'll rave about one to a girlfriend just to be saying something. She smiled at me. I never told anyone that. I think you're the first person I've ever really gotten through to. She was coming through to me all right. Probably because I was a greaser and younger. She didn't have to keep her guard up with me. Rat race is a perfect name for it, she said. We're always going and going and going and never asking where. Did you ever hear of having more than you wanted, so that you couldn't want anything else, and then started looking for something else to want? It seems like we're always searching for something to satisfy us and never finding it. Maybe if we could lose our cool, we could. That was the truth. Socias were always behind a wall of aloofness, careful not to let their real selves show. I had seen a social club rumble once. The socias even fought coldly and practically and impersonally. That's why we're separated, I said. It's not money. It's feeling. You don't feel anything, and we feel too violently. And she was trying to hide a smile. That's probably why we take turns getting our names in the paper. So in this section, we can find examples of Cherry saying how socias are different than greasers. You want to pick out the most important difference. So Pony Boy starts the conversation talking about how he was surprised that they were alike. And his hypothesis seems to be that I thought maybe money separated us. And here's where Cherry comes in. She says it's not just money. Part of it is, but not all. You greasers have a different set of values. You're more emotional. We're sophisticated, cool to the point of not feeling anything. Nothing is real with us. Again, we have Pony Boy reacting to what she says, and he says that was the truth. Socias were always behind a wall of aloofness, careful not to let their real selves show. And he says, that's why we're separated. It's not money, it's feeling. You don't feel anything, and we feel too violently. So to answer this question, you want to paraphrase in your own words the answer. You can use this for evidence for the next step, but this is your best answer right here. The other portions are good, but they're pony boy speaking. So from Cherry's point of view, it's that one way that greasers and socias are different is that the greasers are more emotional and the socias are more sophisticated. So now you found evidence for your answer. To make your answer now, just use as many words from the original question as you can and fill in with your own words your answer. So the question, what's one way that Cherry says socias are different than the greasers? Take out the question word, what? You have one way that Cherry says that socias are different than greasers. You want to try to include that in your answer. Here is the evidence that you found. So you paraphrase that in your own words. You don't want to use a quote yet. So here's an example. One way that Cherry says that socias are different than greasers is, and here's our answer, they have different values. In my answer, I chose to say that they have different values instead of the part about them having different ways of being emotional or not emotional, because I didn't want it to sound repetitive when I get to the next step. So you want to save the citation, the quotations, whatever you want to call the words you take from the text. You want to save that for the next part. For the first part, just answer the question in your own words. After you feel confident that you have mastered the A, answering in complete sentences using words from the question, you will move on to the next steps. First, let's practice answering questions using words from the question. On your worksheet, you will have 10 problems. If you can get 10 out of 10, you are a master, and you should move on to step 2. If you get 9 out of 10, you're also very proficient. You have the skills to move on to the next stage. Also, 8 out of 10, it means you're good. You can move on to the next stage as well. Anywhere below that, you should practice more before moving on to the next stage. 7 out of 10, you're almost there. I'll give you 10 more questions, and if you master those, you can move on. 6 out of 10, not quite, but you're close also. 5 out of 10 or less, you're a rookie, noob, weak sauce. You need to try again until you can pass stage 1. Good luck!